Konrad Styner, Doctor of Medicine. Tonight's story has the title, Till the Song is Done, Till the Dance is Gone.
Guardian of birth, healer of the sick, comforter of the aged. And the qualities of the worthy physician are three: the eye of an eagle, the heart of a lion, the hand of a woman.
Our actual case history tonight concerns the field of cardiac surgery. The object in point, a plastic valve. It weighs scarcely an ounce, but it can mean the difference between life and death. The case in point, Mary Elizabeth Barry. She's in her third year of high school. A few weeks ago, she celebrated her 17th birthday. A happy occasion for the most part, but at the same time, unknown to all save the potential victim, a very explicit danger sign presented itself. Mary Elizabeth had good cause to fear the sign, but she chose to ignore it. Knowing full well that her claim on good health, perhaps life itself, was tenuous at best, Mary Elizabeth preferred to turn her back on the warning signal. Understandable, of course, for sickness and death are not allotted a second thought in the green years of 17. These are the years to hold life in your two hands and know it fully for the first time. Years of promise and new happiness. Certainly no room for thoughts of death. There's room only for the all-important things. The first big date, the first big dance.
Mary Elizabeth.
Pete. What's all this Mary Elizabeth stuff?
Okay, Liz. Say, how are you anyway?
Oh, I'm lots better. Just needed a little rest, I suppose.
You sure gave me a scare at the dance. I mean, finding you like that. I didn't know what was coming off.
I'm sorry, Pete. Stupid thing for me to do. I messed up your whole night for you. I apologize.
What for? It wasn't your fault. You got sick, that's all. Nothing to apologize about. Say, what does the doctor think about it?
Same thing. It's my heart. They're making some x-rays. I've been through it all before. There's nothing they can do about it.
What do you mean? How do you know they can't?
I just know, that's all. There's nothing the doctors can do. There's nothing anybody can do. It's just the way it is, Pete.
Of course there's something they can do. There must be. Just can't go on being sick like this.
No, I guess I can't go on being sick. Matter of fact, I don't think I'm going to.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that I'm just not going to go on being sick. It's just the way it is. I'm not going to go on being anything.
Liz, what are you getting at? What are you talking about?
I know what's the matter with me, Pete. I've lived with it for a long time, since I was 6. I've read a lot of books about people who have hearts like mine. I know what happened to most of them. I know what's going to happen to me. I'm going to die, Pete.
Huh? Liz, you're silly. You don't know what you're talking about.
I'm going to die, Pete. I know it.
Crying out loud, that's a stupid way to talk. Just plain stupid. Nobody wants to die.
It's not what I want. Just the way things are.
Doesn't make any sense. You're wrong. I'll bet you you're wrong.
All right, Pete. I'll bet you.
All right, Mary Elizabeth. How do you feel today? Ready to lick the world?
Not quite, I guess. They sure took a lot of pictures yesterday. A lot of x-rays. What did they find out, Doctor?
Quite a bit. Did your mom and dad come to see you today?
Mom and Dad came by early this afternoon. About those x-rays, Doctor, and the heart tracings. What did you find out?
Just what I thought we'd find. You remember that bad valve in your heart, Mary, that we talked so long about?
Was that it?
I'm afraid so. You know how it happened, don't you?
I guess so. Overdoing it again. Just what you told me not to do.
Your mom and dad said you were supposed to be home from the dance. Couldn't tear yourself away. Was that it?
I guess so. I wanted it to happen just once. Just once in my life, I wanted to be there for the whole thing. I wanted to be there for the end of something. Ever since I was little, it was always the same way. I'd go to a party or a dance or a picnic or something, and I'd always have to leave right in the middle of everything, right when everyone was having such a good time. I had to take care of myself. I couldn't overdo. I mustn't excite myself. Seems like I'd heard those words all my life.
I think I understand, Mary.
Just once. Just once I wanted it to be different. I wanted to be like everybody else. It was such a wonderful dance. I didn't want it to end. I've been to lots of dances, lots of wonderful dances. But you know something? I was never there for the last dance. I don't even know what it was like. Just this once. Just once, I wanted to be there for the last dance. I didn't make it, not even then. That was my last time, wasn't it, Doctor? I'll never have another chance.
Another chance? I don't think I know what you mean, Mary.
It's just a matter of time. I'm going to die.
Whatever gave you that idea? Of course you're not going to die. If everything works out all right, you'll have years and years ahead of you. And I'm sure it will work out.
But you can't do anything about it. You can't give me a new heart.
No, but we can do almost as well. We can give you a new valve in place of the one you already have.
A new valve?
That's right. We simply open the aorta and insert a plastic valve. I talked to your mother and father about this. I'd like to know what you think.
Well, I don't know exactly. It just sounds too good to be true. I don't know what I think.
You might concentrate on that last dance idea. Because I think you have a good chance of making it finally.
My boyfriend, Pete, I made a bet with him. I said I was going to die.
Young lady, that's one bet you deserve to lose. And I think I'll make sure you do lose it.
The surgical procedure to accomplish the insertion of the artificial valve in the aorta begins with an incision of the skin on the left chest. The incision extends from the side of the left shoulder blade down to a point below the left breast. Hemostats are first placed on the blood vessels involved, and then ligatures of silk are used to tie off these vessels. The exposed layers of muscle, in turn, are divided until the rib cage lies exposed. Meantime, retractors displace the shoulder blade upward toward the shoulder. With the exposure of the rib cage, the fifth rib is then isolated and stripped of its covering, and then removed. Thereafter, an incision is made in the pleura, the thin membrane lining the chest. The chest now lies open, and the lung can be seen moving rhythmically with the respiratory effort. A rib retractor is now placed into position. The lung is moved forward, and the fissure between the lower and upper lobes can be plainly seen. The aorta itself now becomes visible just behind the lung. A suction tip is used to remove fluid along the aorta. And then with scissors, the operating surgeon incises the pleura covering over the aorta, freeing this vital blood vessel for several inches both upward and downward. Smaller blood vessels around and under the aorta are subsequently cut, tied off, and divided, thus permitting more freedom of movement for the aorta. High on the inner surface of the aorta, other vessels which extend to the ribs of the right side are freed, isolated, ligated, and divided. Despite the invasion by surgery, the vital aortic lifeline continues its regular pulsations, with only an occasional extrasystole or contraction. After the aorta is encircled with a clamp, a strip of rubber drain is placed around it to permit an elastic type of traction, and thus allow exposure of other arteries branching off the lower surface of the vessel, so that they too can be ligated and divided. At intervals throughout the operation, the lung is expanded to improve its ventilation. Scissors are used to separate the important vagus nerve which passes along the upper surface of the aorta and further over to the root of the lung. This vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve, has not only motor but sensory functions which stimulate the heart, lung, throat, the stomach, and most of the intestines. During the surgical procedure, this nerve may be seen from time to time as a white cord. At this point, a ligature of silk is passed beneath the aortic vessel, one ligature being tied away and one close to the aorta before division again frees the throbbing lifeline. Reduction of the lung now exposes the vagus nerve more clearly than ever. At this point, with the aorta fully mobile, a special plastic ring is held beside the vessel to make comparison of size. The type of plastic valve to be used is also brought into position for comparison of size. Then a very heavy silk ligature is placed beneath the aorta. This same ligature to be used to bind the encircling plastic ring in place. After which a valve of suitable size is selected and held with a clamp. Clamps are placed above and below the site where the valve will be actually inserted. A small amount of blood is extracted from a portion of the aorta, and then finally and at last, the task of actually inserting the new valve begins. The ligation of heavy silk is tied around a plastic ring, firmly fixing it in place. The lower end of the valve is inserted into the aorta, and another plastic ring is fixed in a similar binding position as before. The valve itself contains a quantity of heparin, a substance which prevents clotting of the blood. After that, the plastic valve itself is filled with a saline solution. This is done to rid the valve of air bubbles and also to avoid initial shock until the new valve is functioning smoothly. The first eddying currents through the valve are now seen as blood washes through. When the heart is resting between beats, the flow of blood carries the ball upward and to the right, where it momentarily closes the plastic tube to prevent the return flow of blood. With the new valve in place, the immediate surrounding area is then irrigated with normal saline solution to wash out blood spatters in the chest cavity. A sheet of plastic is used to encircle the valve and approximately 1 inch of actual aortic tissue at either end. The individual stitches or sutures are placed to close the pleura over the plastic sheet, the aorta, and the new valve. After more saline irrigation, the lung is inflated once again. The ribs, which have been sprung apart, are now released and joined with the aid of a small mechanical contractor. The layers of muscle are replaced as before, and the skin and its immediate underlying tissue is closed with sutures. A catheter, a section of rubber tubing, is used to withdraw air or any seepage from the pleural space. The operation is at an end.
How about that? The last dance.
Uh-huh. Let's not waste it.
What are you smiling at?
I don't know. It's the dance. A wonderful, wonderful dance.
You act like you're glad it's over.
It's not over, Pete. It won't be over. Not for a long, long time.